Piston Bashers. Let's get into it. I just want to start out by saying congratulations to Monty Williams. I want to say I don't think I gave you the proper introduction to Detroit or the welcoming to Detroit by saying thank you for taking this job, and that is no sarcasm at all. Actually, that's furthers from the direction where we're going with this one. The Pistons are in a great position, or you know, never mind the record, never mind the losses. Okay, all right. The majority of you people that's bashing the Pistons right now, and you saying they're a horrible team, you didn't project them or predict them to win over 30 games or 35 games, whatever the case may be. I'm standing at 41, and I'm still going to get my 41. Somebody say, well, with this roster, how can you do it, or in the way this team is structured, the way this team is going, and how is there's no culture, there's no continuity. This is what makes the Monty Williams the Monty Williams hiring so great. There's no better person who's fit for this job than him. After what he had to go through, not to bringing his personal situation involved with this, yet his personal situation actually prepared him for this type of job. I don't think there was another job that was prepared as much for this one. You're talking about somebody has to start over. You can't get no better starting over than starting over from this bunch of players, this group of players. These players don't know how to win at all. I mean, on any level. Maybe with the exception of probably, you got those, the Monty Morrises, or you could have the Boyans and maybe Joe Wolf and Alec Burke. Maybe they know something about winning, but everybody else, and James Wiseman, everybody else is pretty much new to winning. They don't know how to win. So everything that Monty Williams is going to teach them, he has to teach them how to win step by step. They all may be decent players as individuals, yet that's on the individual team when everything is focused and circled around them. Monty Williams has to build this team from the scratch. He has to, rebuild the mindset of this team from the scratch. This is why Dwayne Casey couldn't win with this group, because it's a group of kids that don't know nothing about winning. I believe Dwayne Casey was here when the last time the Pistons went to the playoffs. I believe that's was that with Blake Griffin, or was that with Stan Van Gundy? Any which way I go, this is a growth situation for him. It put me in the mind of, what's his name? Matt Patricia situation. It was a growth situation if he was up to the challenge. However, he wasn't up to the challenge. Instead of him growing, he regressed. So he got forced out. Good thing. However, Monty Williams have this proper opportunity, or this ripening opportunity. It's ready to be plucked. Yet you're going to have to teach these individual players how to win individually. That tough stuff of they don't have no fight. Of course they don't have no fight. They're spoiled. They're spoiled rotten. They don't know nothing about grind. Not one of those players, maybe the 10-day type players, or the ones that doesn't have the guaranteed contracts, maybe they understand about the grind. And maybe those the players you need to play with. And all those lottery pick players, including Duran, including Cade, including Ivy, including Asar, all of them could just ride the bench. I mean, those supposed to be your leaders. But if they're not showing consistency, then where are you going to get your development from, or your foundation how to win? Where are you going to get it from? If the guys that you are the guys that is up, and that is up front, electively, to take this franchise to the next step forward, and they're not willing to go for the challenge, put them to the bench. You put Ivy to the bench, put Cade to the bench. Put Duran to the bench. Put Assar to the bench. Any first round draft pick, forgive me, not first round, any lottery pick that is not all out for the hustle, is not all out for the grind. I'm not talking about that staying in the gym. That's what they, that's hype noise. That's why it didn't mean nothing when if a person, when they reported that Ivy is in the gym, they're in the gym, they're doing this. None of that means anything. It doesn't mean anything. All it is clickbait. Go back to the days of old, Monty Williams. The players that grind plays. Even if you get, what's the difference if you're getting blown out by 100 points and you're losing 12 straight with those players that's supposed to be the ones that you can depend on and count on? Take all those players out, and every player that has something to prove, play them. And one or two things are going to happen with those lottery picks. Either they're going to shape up and grind along with it, or they're going to want out. Either which way it go is going to put you in a position for a good step going forward, because now you have something real, I guess something solidified or something formable of a foundation. If you're getting rid of the riffraff, get rid of the riffraff. It doesn't matter where they was drafted, how much you tank for them, because with the exception of Cade, every player that they have in the lottery wasn't really. The Pistons was, I don't want to say pigeonhole, but the Pistons were, I don't want to call it blackballed. They had no shot at top 3 talent. And since Cade, they had no shot. Okay, after Cade, you have the Ivy. They had a maybe second or third worst record. How you end up with the 5th lottery pick? All right, now the whole tanking thing for Benyama, and you have the worst record, and you end up with the 5th pick. So the Pistons, by the league standards, and by the league's doing, the Pistons don't have no shot at top talent. Regardless if they go through free agency, no free agent really want to come here because it's not really a destination. I get that. Trading, you don't have the trade assets because you don't have the players to trade to get the trade assets to go ahead and be able to trade them. You don't have anything. The Pistons are in the Pistons type way of winning. I say trade Cade because he gives you the best in return. Am I saying Cade is the worst player? Am I blaming everything on Cade? No. His situation is just like Grant Hill. Grant Hill, there's no way that Joe Dumars wanted to trade Grant Hill. However, if Grant Hill won out, you have to trade him. Who would have thought they end up with Ben Wallace in return? Ben Wallace and Chucky Atkins in return. And Chucky Atkins was equally as good in that trade, or not going to say equally as good, but I would say he was a good asset in that trade because he helped get Rasheed Wallace here. So with that said, I'll tune up with that. The Pistons, you are in a great position. You just have to go back to how the Pistons are structured. The NBA is the NBA. The Pistons never, since Isaiah Thomas been here, no, let's say it this way, since Jack McCloskey, Chuck Daly, Isaiah Thomas, and Bill Laimbeer been here, it has been one way. You got, with all those 4 individuals, they had to grind for it. Tom Gores, I don't know if he's a grinder. Maybe Bill Davison probably wasn't much of a grinder, so you probably got that as a toss up. Yet if your general manager Troy Weaver is a grinder, I don't know if he's a grinder, but he reminds me of a Jack McCloskey. This situation puts me in the mind of a Jack McCloskey. I almost want to say your Cade is not your Isaiah Thomas. He's not your Isaiah Thomas. I want to say your Isaiah Thomas is Ivy. That's who I want to say. Actually, that's what I said. Ivy is your Isaiah Thomas. Cade is your Grant Hill. Grant Hill is too much of a luxury here in the Pistons type of franchise. Can he load up the stat sheets and do all the records and everything? Yeah, he can do all that. But I don't think it's going to equate to wins. Not, am I saying you can't win with Cade? Yeah, I just don't think. I think you have to have the right pieces around Cade for him to win, for him to be successful. And I don't think the Pistons are in a position to be successful in that frame. So I'm not. Once again, I'm not saying Cade is the problem. Nor have I ever said Cade is the problem. However, I never said Cade was the answer. When Dave Bing gave his quote about saying that Cade is not the guy, and then somebody said that he retracted that and everything with the explanation. I hear that, but I stand by that. I don't think Cade is the guy. He's a guy next to a Kevin Durant. He's the guy next to someone in the likes of that. Now, if it's up to me, you swing a deal with Cade and maybe, I don't know what you have to do. Bogey, maybe get another team involved. I don't know. And you go swing for the fences and try to get a Devin Booker. But there's no way I believe that Phoenix will give up Devin Booker. But then again, they might just be Dylan. It depends on if they're not winning immediately in Phoenix. Then you may have a little, because that's a lot of money, for the luxury tax for Phoenix if you're not winning. There's only so many fans who want to come to see a losing, I guess you say, super team. So maybe you have a shot trading Cade, Bogdanovich, some other assets, maybe some future draft picks to go get Booker. You put Booker with Asar. You put Booker with Asar and Duran. It's over. Am I saying Devin Booker is more seated for Detroit because he is Detroit? Cade is not Detroit. Isaiah Thomas worked here because he was Detroit. Ben Wallace worked here because he was Detroit. Not because they was drafted here or signed here, traded here. Their backstory, their background, they had to work hard for it. That's what Detroit is. Cade didn't have to work for what he had to get to. Don't please, anybody who listens to this, do not get me wrong by saying, but when I say that Cade didn't have to work for it, he had to work to get that number one overall draft pick. He had to work for that. Yet it's not the Pistons DNA work for it. This is why I said Mathurin was Pistons DNA versus Jay Ivey. Jay Ivey may have ties here, but he's not Pistons DNA. Pistons DNA is Ben Wallace, Bill Laimbeer, Isaiah Thomas, Dennis Rodman, Jack McCloskey, Bill Davison. You have to come from nothing and worked hard to go all the way up to the top. You can't just be given nothing here. Grant Hill was a given. He was like a blue chipper, or whatever. So you can't. I don't want to. I want to say it's against the rules of Detroit. It just doesn't work that way. Detroit is a hard-working city, and it has always been, and probably always will be. You have to get people that's in a like-minded. Otherwise, the fans are not going to embrace it. Now, I know somebody from Detroit Kool-Aid and Woodward Sports and Valente, all the content makers. If they're listening to this, you may take some snippets out of this and try to turn it and spin it, make it, something of clickbait and all that. That's nonsense stuff. I'm not calling you guys out to throw shots at you. I'm just saying, put this in the proper context. If you're going to take it, I'm not saying put my name on it. You can do that if you like. But what I'm saying, put this in proper context. Don't take it to try to make a story out of it. I should retract that because I imagine that's what it's going to be made for. It's unfortunate because it is putting fuel to the fire of why the Pistons team can't go forward, and which no fan or no supporter, or let's say the bandwagoners, that's what they do. They do stuff for the fame or for the money and all that stuff, the nonsense stuff, versus being authentic. And I once again, I'm not throwing no darts and no shots at anybody. I really have a heart for this team. Ever since the days of John Long and Kelly Tripucka, and Isaiah Thomas type deal. I had, those was my guys. Not John Long, but it was Kelly Tripucka and Isaiah Thomas. Those were my guys coming in, and I wouldn't. I don't think I have the mindset to abandon this team, even through a hard time such as this. I've been with them for 3 titles, and all their losses and all their growing pains. This is not the first time the Pistons been through something like this. This is the first time that the Pistons doesn't have nothing to build with, and they going through this. We have seen ugly things through the stints of before Joe Dumars took office, and you have George Irvine as the head coach, and the Doug Collins falling out, and he leaving, and it bottomed out. Even the Jeff Van Gundy era, we've seen it. What was that? When Michael Curry took over as a head coach, we've seen this. Now, each one of those teams has something to play off of for them not to be this bad. This current team doesn't have one guy who is consistent. Everybody on this team has a question mark on it. Until you get that one guy that's consistent. So this is why I say play the guys that's going to hustle. I mean, start them. If there's a Mude, forgive me if I'm not pronouncing his name correctly. If it's Sasser, if it's Knox, give me all the grinders. Get blown out. It doesn't matter. Give me the guys who's going to fight. And we'll pick up the pieces later. With that said, Pistons fans, I salute.